Imagine this. You found a way to relive your glory days as a younger version of yourself. Would you return to college and ace all the tests? Or visit your old boss and creep him out with your insider knowledge? Something similar happens in this movie, but the outcome is far more disturbing than anything you could ever imagine. Like, what if that younger self wasn't fully under your control? Let's break it down. An egg yolk is injected with a mysterious green fluid, and what happens after is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. The yolk splits apart and creates a copy of itself. Something about that is so unsettling, but the movie is just beginning and there are more horrors to come. At the Hollywood Walk of Fame, the star of one, Elizabeth Sparkle, gets placed down. Time flies by as the star goes from a tourist attraction to old news. One guy even drops his burger on it. It turns out Elizabeth is the host of a TV aerobics show called Sparkle It Up. One day after a shoot, she hides in the men's room and overhears Harvey, the president of the network, talking about how they need to get rid of Elizabeth now that she's turned 50. Elizabeth's career is crumbling, but what happens when desperation drives her to a dark choice? Elizabeth has lunch with Harvey, who stuffs his face with shrimp and terminates her contract. On her way home, Elizabeth is distracted when she sees that her billboard is being taken down and she gets into a serious car accident. At the doctor's office, a nurse tells her that she is a perfect candidate after doing a checkup on her. He slips a flash drive into her jacket pocket. Outside, Elizabeth runs into Fred, a man who remembers her all the way back from high school. Fred says he thinks she's still the most beautiful woman in the world, and he gives her his number. At home, Elizabeth plugs in the flash drive and a video starts playing advertising something called The Substance. A voice explains that the substance provides the user with the experience of living as a younger and better version of themselves, switching between the young and old bodies every 7 days without fail. Elizabeth throws the drive in the trash, but after she feels lonely and longs for her glory days, she gets it out and calls the number. Elizabeth receives an ID card and goes to the address, which is down a shady alley in a secret building. She finds a deposit box with her number and opens it to find the substance inside. Back home, she injects herself with the green fluid, the same creepy one used on the egg. But what happens when this fluid doesn't just change her body, but her entire life? Elizabeth falls to the floor in pain and a giant slit opens up in her back as a younger, beautiful woman comes out of it. The younger self sews up the wound and uses a stabilizer fluid on herself and the Elizabeth body to keep them balanced. The young woman starts to go by Sue and wins Harvey over as she blows everyone away at the audition for Elizabeth's old job. Sue enjoys the attention she's getting and lives her first week with high energy. But when she returns to being Elizabeth, her life remains dull, and the only thing she does with her time is go back to the network to collect her things from Harvey. When she Sue again, her fitness show is picked up by the network as Harvey promises to work around her unusual schedule. Sue builds a separate room in the bathroom to hide Elizabeth's body when she's unconscious. Her neighbor complains about the noise, but he backs down and hits on Sue when he sees that she's a fine young woman and not Elizabeth. Sue goes out for the night hours before she needs to switch and brings home a guy to hook up with, but she starts to get a nosebleed because her time is up. Because she wants a little more time, Sue reuses a stabilizer tube and extracts more fluid from Elizabeth's body so she can spend the night with a guy. The jump scare of her back falling out is enough to make you jump and clutch your pearls, even if you aren't wearing it. Elizabeth wakes up and discovers that the extra time spent as Sue has caused her right hand to look older and sickly. She calls the number for the substance, and the voice tells her the effects are not reversible. She needs to respect the balance and also stop viewing Sue as a separate person. They are one. But can she stop when Sue feels more alive than Elizabeth ever did? After getting her refill kit, Elizabeth goes to a diner where she sees an old man with a similar birthmark on his arm as the nurse who recommended the substance to her. He creeps her out by asking if the younger one is eating away at her yet. Elizabeth panics and runs out. Then she finds Fred's number and takes him up on his offer to go to dinner. He's first speechless, but he asks her out. Elizabeth gets ready, but on her way out, she gets distracted after seeing Sue's billboard outside her apartment. She goes to the bathroom and removes and reapplies makeup until she just becomes so bitter and frustrated that she just bails on the date and doesn't call Fred again. Sue is on set taping her show when she does a bad take because she felt something bulging against her backside. So she covers herself up and walks out as they do a playback to focus on the weird thing the camera picked up. She goes to the bathroom and pushes the lump up her leg and out through her belly button, which turns out to be a whole chicken leg. Sue calls the number to complain about Elizabeth's binge drinking and eating habits. Sue finds out that her show has been shut down, and Harvey tells her that she's become so popular that they want her to host a New Year's Eve special. Sue feels on top of the world and prevents herself from switching back to Elizabeth by taking more spinal fluid. When she finally switches, Elizabeth looks much older and she can barely move her legs. She stays busy by using Harvey's parting gift, a French cookbook, to prepare a lot of dishes. Sue is on a talk show on TV, and Elizabeth hates her and sees her as ungrateful. Disgusted by Elizabeth, Sue spends 3 months extracting fluid from her body to keep her around longer without needing to switch. The spot starts to look like an infected sore, and when she tries to use it one more time, the fluid comes out black. She calls the number and the voice tells her that she has reached the end and the stabilizing fluid will reset when she goes back to Elizabeth's body. Sue sees no other option, and when she returns to Elizabeth's body, she has become a grotesque abomination. Elizabeth decides to terminate the substance, which will still not reverse her state. She receives a black fluid and starts to inject Sue in the chest with it, but she stops before she can use the entire syringe and pulls it out. Sue wakes up, finds herself staring at Elizabeth, and when she realizes what she was about to do, she attacks her and smashes Elizabeth's face against a mirror before beating her to death. Nightmare doesn't end here. Sue may have won the fight, but she's already losing the war against her own body. Sue goes to the network for the New Year's Eve special. Unfortunately, her body starts to literally fall apart. As 3 of her front teeth fall out, her fingernails come off, and her left ear falls down. Sue runs back home looking for a solution, then finds the activator fluid. Although it was designed to be used only once, Sue thinks it will create another young body. Instead, it gives birth to a disgusting creature called Monstro Elizasu that has multiple lumps, teeth, breast, and Elizabeth's shocked face on the back. Monstro heads back to the network with Elizabeth's face taped to its own and wears Sue's dress. As it approaches the stage, its face falls off and reveals its hideousness as children cry out. Harvey attacks Monstro and blows its head off with a mic stand, but the head regenerates. Its arm falls off and sprays the audience in a fountain of gore, covering the entire room in nothing but red goo. Monstro walks into the streets until it collapses and splatters all over the place. What remains is Elizabeth's original face, and it crawls to her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. She feels happiness one last time before she melts into a puddle of goo. In the morning, a floor scrubber washes away the puddle, leaving no trace of Elizabeth behind. Her final wish was for fame, but all she left behind was emptiness. What part of this story creeped you out the most? We hope you enjoyed this video. Let us know your thoughts down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into disturbing films from The Replay Media. Okay, you made it this far. Click the join button below and become part of the Replay Media fam, with perks like early access to videos and exclusive content for horror fans. What are you waiting for? Join now.